Welcome to the Johnson County Cavalier Sports Report. I'm your host, Morgan Lamb. Joining me today from the women's basketball team is head coach Ben Conrad. Thanks so much for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get right into it.
All right.
After the big win against Heston College, your team has won another conference title, have climbed to number 3 in the nation polls, and are number 1 headed into postseason. Reflect with me a little bit on how you got to this impressive place.
I think we've got here kind of the same way. I think most seasons we've got at least close to this point as we've just followed our plan. We've got a system in place and we've got a culture established and expectations that we have of our players, and then we usually have really good sophomores that understand it. They buy into it. They teach the young kids, and we just stay in the daily. I talk about it a lot with our kids, but we just stay in the daily. The grind, the process, the daily thing that we have to get done, and then at the end of the year, if we've done everything we're supposed to do every day, the results, if you're good enough, the results will be there. So I just think it's been kind of the same formula. It's been a little different this year because of the pieces were kind of different. We had a lot of question marks coming in. This is probably the first year we haven't had a Division I transfer in about 8 years. It's the first year we haven't had a returning. An All-America, a preseason All-America, although I think we probably should have, we didn't. And so it was just one of those years where things had to come together, and it's been a nice run this year.
I've heard you say trust the process over and over, process over product. How do you translate to your team in everyday practices?
Well, I just think it's just, we really just got to convince them that the only thing they really control is what they do every day. The only thing they really control is how we prepare, how we practice, the way we watch film, the way we attack the weight room, and just get them to buy into that. And I think this group's done a nice job of that.
7 sophomores, 7 freshmen, 5 returning sophomores, 2 transfers. What leadership does having half your team being sophomores bring to this year's team?
Well, it was really big. I mean, I think it was critical this year. I think we were picked. I think we're picked 3rd in the league. So I think the expectation coming in with our returners and just at least what people out there thought was that this was going to be a little bit of a down year. And so I think we knew all summer that our sophomores had to have a great summer. Okay, they had to really prepare for the season, and they had to really, really take the reins of leadership on the team, because we were going to have to execute. And I think our room for error was smaller this year. And so we had to really play right. And I think we've had some teams that have just been so talented, just 1 through 14, that not that we didn't have to execute, not that we didn't have to play right, but I felt like this group really needed to be sharp. And so the leadership we got from the sophomores this year up to this point has been really, really good. It's a great group of kids. They're kids that I think have really bought in. They're kids that understand our process. And then you add 2 transfers that have been to college already, and that maturity kicks in. And then on top of that, you got freshmen that listen and try to allow themselves to be led. Sometimes freshmen don't want to listen. They think they've got all the answers, and for the most part, I think our freshmen were willing to kind of follow a little bit.
You've said before that consistency is so key with your team, putting together 40 solid minutes. How have you guys worked on that to be able to do that and head into postseason number 1?
Well, we're still working on it. It's still something we're striving for. We talk a lot about trying to play 40 minutes the right way, and try to be right and try to be solid for 40. And we're still searching for that. We're not there yet. We're getting close. We're getting close. But we just talk a lot about possession by possession, try to get right and then try to repeat it. And repeat it for 40 minutes, and that's the challenge with any basketball team at any level, is getting that consistency across a 40-minute game.
Let's talk about the quality of the league that you guys are in this year. At some point, 5 teams have been ranked nationally.
It's as good as it's been, and I think that's something that I'm pretty proud of. We had, I think this is the 5th time we've won the league in the last 6 years, and I think the first 2 were huge because it was an 18-team. It was an 18-game grind. You had to go to Cali, you had to go to Indy, you had to go to Coffeyville, you had to go to all these places. So those first 2 were special, and then we switched. The league kind of switched the way they did the conference, and so it was a little different the last 2. Not that it didn't matter, not that it wasn't important, but it definitely wasn't as significant, I think, as those first couple. This one is special because the quality of the league. I mean, every single team, when you talk about the defending national champions, KCK, you talk about Highland, who's, I think a lot of people before the year and even now will tell you, I mean, they've got as good a collection of talent as anybody in the country. They're a top 5 team in the nation. Fort Scott got a new coach. He added some pieces. He's a guy that's been doing this like 40 years, Coach Tapman. And then Labette loaded up. I mean, they're going to go they're like 25-3 right now. So when you talk about the teams that we have to face night in, night out, for us to do what we've done in the league is pretty special for sure. And definitely is a significant accomplishment for our kids.
Yeah, it's an impressive season so far.
So far, and it ain't over yet.
Yeah,
we still have a lot of work to do.
So you brought up KCK, defending champions. You guys have one more game against them next week before heading into March Madness. You guys beat them once already. What are some keys to beat them again?
Well, I think number one, it's a conference game that, and our kids understand this. We've only got a share of the conference championship right now. So if we want it to ourselves, we've got to go win on the road over there. As far as getting ready, I think our team is at the point right now, thankfully, where we don't really have to tell them anything to get them ready. I think they understand the season's coming to an end. We've got to get right. So we don't have to say much. And then again, crosstown rival or whatever, they won a national title last year. So our kids will be ready. And it's like any other game. We've got to defend, we've got to rebound, we've got to take care of the ball. We've got to be solid. Okay, we've got to play right. And if we do those things, we'll have an opportunity to go over there and have success.
So you had 6 girls from last season move on to NCAA Division I and Division II schools. How do you and your coaching staff help prepare your players for that next level?
Well, I think I'm very proud of the fact that not only do our kids transfer on, I think they have success too. And I think a lot of that is, we run this a lot like a Division I program. The demands, the time constraints, the effort that we're demanding every day. I think we're getting them ready. The structure is very similar, I think, to the Division I level. So I think when the kids go on, they're not shocked by anything that they go through at the next level because they've kind of gone through it here. I know a lot of our kids when they go on, they'll tell us that nothing that they've done at Mizzou or Kansas, whatever, is really that much different than what we do here. So I think that's something our staff does a good job of preparing them for, is getting them ready by not taking shortcuts and making sure we're demanding. Yeah.
Demanding. So you're demanding, obviously on the court and in the classroom. Tell me about your demands for your student athletes.
Well, I mean, we've got classroom attendance is mandatory, so it's something where if we have a kid that decides not to go to class, there's going to be some consequences. We definitely do some checking. Our athletic department actually has a new. We have a new thing in place where we get a mass email out to all the teachers, and it's a survey. It works really well. So we are on top of it. We've got study table for most of our kids. Certain kids that have done really, really well, they kind of test out of it and prove that they don't necessarily need it, and they kind of do their own thing. But we have study table. We have class attendance checks. So we take a lot of pride in our team GPA, and it's been, I think, 6 of the 8 years I've been here, we've been a WBCA, Women's Basketball Coach Association, top 15 in GPA, which is usually right around 3 points. So it's important. I think one of the things we try to get our kids to buy into is all the different areas of your life bleed into each other. And so if you're successful in one area, you can be successful in another. If you're sloppy at home, sloppy in the classroom, that can bleed over into basketball. So we want our kids to try to be good at everything. I tell our freshmen when they get in, I'm not really interested in people that are picking and choosing what they want to be good at. We want to try to be good at everything. Good in the classroom, okay, good in the community, good at keeping your house clean and organized at your house, at your apartment, and then again, obviously doing the things we need to do on the court. So we just think all those things are important, and they all kind of come together. Yeah.
To be great in the classroom, on the court, in the community, that takes a lot from the coaching staff. And you have a big coaching staff that have been here for quite a few years. Tell me a bit about how you guys are all bonded and lead the team.
Well, we've got a lot. I think being in the Kansas City area, we're fortunate. There's a lot of people in the basketball community that I've gotten to know over the years that have jumped on board and wanted to be a part of it. People like Coach Strong, Coach Skockel. Coach Carlos has been here for for a while, and Coach Bolin and all our scout team people like Brody, all those guys. Felipe McCree's been with me 5 years now, and he's kind of like he's got kind of on game day. He's kind of got it figured out exactly what I want and when I want it. He's kind of like an extension of me. We've added Patrick Harrison came on board, guy with Division I experience who really understands what being a college basketball coach is all about. So there's very little, really no training involved as far as when he came on. He jumped in and was ready right away. So we just have an incredible staff. We got 2 former players that played for me here, Paulie Harrington and Taylor McDowell. Both had tremendous success here and then tremendous success at the next school after they left here. So those are kids that have been in our program, that understand our program. So it's nice to have former players. Our staff's too big. We have too many coaches. I have a hard time saying no. But they all have a little niche and something they bring, and that adds to the player experience. You know, we've got all these coaches that can help develop our players. I think it's really good for our kids. So as long as we can keep them busy, and then I think it's good to have a good sized staff. Although I do get made fun of a lot. You know, a lot of my coaching friends see our staff, and they like to give me a hard time about how big it is. Yeah, every one of them has something they bring to the table, so why not?
And you guys have made it so far with the entire coaching staff on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple weeks left postseason. What are you hoping of your team every single game?
Well, I think we're at the point now, it's not even really the game. I mean, we only got one regular season game. I just think every single day something positive has to happen. We talk from the beginning about small steps over the course of 3 or 4 months. And we talk a lot about if you aren't getting better, okay, your teams don't stay the same, okay? You're either getting better or you're getting worse, okay? Teams that are staying the same are falling behind. So we're really right now focused on this last couple weeks of really trying to accelerate our progress. Every team has a ceiling. Every team has a ceiling, and that's the place where they're about as good as they can be. They're as good as their talent will let them be, and we're getting there. Okay, and that's where we want to be when the season's over. When we go into postseason, we want to be capable of playing as well as we can possibly play, and that's your goal with every team. And so to get there, you do have to take forward progress every single day, and that's pretty much what we're doing. That's what we're keeping our eye on, and we just want to finish strong. You know, we want to get play our best basketball in March. I always tell our players, you're not defined by what happens in March. Okay, your legacy is a little bit, like what kind of legacy you leave here is going to be defined by March, but you're not necessarily defined by that. You know, you're defined by how you approach it from August on, and this team has done it right. Very, very proud of them. They've put together a nice run. They've done some things a lot of people didn't think they could do, and it's been a nice year. So now we want to try to cement our legacy and have a nice run in March. Yeah.
All right, I have just a couple quick rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
Don't think too hard. Favorite music group?
Oh, man. I'm Florida Georgia Line because
right.
one of their band members is a good friend of mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Who's that?
Yeah, a guy named Dan Weller.
Okay.
He's the guy that sits in the back on the right and plays the keyboard. He joined up with them about 5 years ago. He's from Kansas City, good friend of mine. Lives down the street from me. So he's been to a couple of their concerts, and I love their music. I'm kind of a country guy, but I like all kinds of music.
From Iowa, you have to
absolutely. But right now, I'm gonna say Florida Georgia Line.
All right.
Yeah.
Favorite pregame meal?
Man, pregame meal for me is I don't eat, so I don't know. I can tell you postgame meal. Once the game's done, like I love to go to Popeyes. That's probably my favorite spot. I like Oklahoma Joe's. There's a lot of stuff in Kansas City. It's not good. You know, it's not good for your weight. But post game meal for me is I like Chipotle. I like them all. I like them all. I just like food.
Not picky.
No, I'm not.
All right. Who's your favorite basketball player of all time?
Oh man, that's tough. I'd have to say I have to give you 2 answers.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite pro. I loved Magic Johnson, and obviously Michael Jordan's the greatest ever. So probably Jordan. But my favorite college player, I loved Bobby Hurley. I copied him. I've got VHS tapes of games. I would put it in the VHS and tape it anytime Duke was on TV in the early 90s. And I taped Bobby Hurley. And he was the point guard for Duke in the early 90s and won a couple national titles. And I would emulate his game. I would copy his game. I think he's still the assist leader in the NCAA, maybe. If not, he's second or third. But Bobby Hurley was definitely my favorite college player.
Are you excited about Magic back with the Lakers?
Oh, I am. Yeah, fired up. Yeah, I think they'll get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What song best describes you?
What song?
Yep.
That is impossible. That is impossible. Gosh, I don't know. I couldn't even answer that question.
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Favorite basketball movie and why?
Basketball movie? Oh, whew. I mean, it's probably got to be Hoosiers, just because it's a classic. You know, I mean, it's got it all. Yeah, I'd say Hoosiers, the best basketball movie for sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well,
How about
thank
you?
you.
What's your best basketball
Loving
movie?
basketball.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. I think that's probably
Classic
everyone.
answer.
That's probably every one of the kids on my team would say
Yeah?
the same thing.
We'll
So,
see soon.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. We're so excited to see you guys coming up in March here. I'm sure you'll have a great rest of your season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
This has been the Cavalier Sports Report with Morgan Lamb. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.